know that virtual coaching has become more competitive than ever. NASM's got you covered with our virtual coaching course. NASM's virtual coaching course provides a complete solution to help you translate your services into a successful virtual platform. This course will give you the tools to build and operate a sustainable virtual business model. The formats may be different, but you're still delivering fitness training and effective behavioral coaching. That doesn't change even if you can't be in the same physical space as your clients. The truth is, this is the way to reach more clients and expand your reach and impact. There's never been a better time to carve out your very own virtual space, and NASM is here to help. Welcome to NASM's virtual coaching.
Hey everyone, welcome to our We Speak Wednesday episode. My name is Katrina Pilkington. I'm an AFAA Master Instructor as well as an NASM certified everything. And today I'm excited to hang out with two of my favorite colleagues as we dive into questions we get on our Facebook page related to this term of a Master Instructor. So just so you know what a Master Instructor is with our two brands, a Master Instructor is an educator, is someone who leads workshops when we were doing them in person, and hopefully soon we'll be doing them virtually. They bring a wealth of expertise and knowledge into our space of AFAA and NASM in order to educate others, not only to share their experience, but to lead in different topics such as group fitness, corrective exercise, and certified personal trainer workshops. So today, allow me to introduce you to Amy Davis and Andrew Mills. Good morning, you two.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to do a brief intro on each one of these humans that I get to work with in this space of health and fitness. And then I'm going to dive into some questions just so we can get to know a little bit about our Master Instructors on the personal side, not necessarily too personal, but just as far as who they are with their wealth of expertise, like where they come from, how they get here. We get this question all the time. How do I become a Master Instructor? So what better way to find out than to learn from those that are in that space? So Ms. Amy Davis here is an AFAA or AFAA Master Instructor like myself. She's a hardworking mom and a 500-hour yoga trainer, conference presenter, and content writer. You've probably seen her on some of our AFAA content videos, and she writes a lot of our blog content. So I'm grateful that she gets to be here to have a dialogue with me today to represent AFAA. Hi, Amy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Just hoping that my kid doesn't come in here and ruin our party. We also have Mr. Andrew Mills, an ASM Master Instructor with a Master's in Exercise Science and an emphasis on rehabilitation. He's also working on his Doctorate in Health Science from CalU, the school I also attend. He is also a licensed massage therapist and holds additional certifications from NASM, just like myself. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So I'm really excited because my goal with this whole show was just to focus on the community, right? We are so focused on the technical stuff and the programming, which is hugely important, but how do we network together as a community to come together and unify for our industry, right? So I want to allow both of you just to kind of speak freely. You guys can paper, scissors, rock and see who goes first, but maybe give us a little background about how many years you've been in the industry, how did you land here, that sort of thing.
Why don't you take it first, Amy?
All right, thank you. I actually started this when I was 17 years old. So I've been doing it for I'm way past 17.
Just last year.
Yeah, it was just like 5 years ago. Yeah, no. I started this because in high school, I was a dancer and a cheerleader and I did movement a lot. And then when I got into college, I wanted to be able to still do things like that. And so I started attending aerobics classes. And then like most people that start into the fitness industry, you have that aerobics instructor that changed your life, that was your mentor and your idol, and you wanted to do everything that they did. You wanted to wear everything they did. You wanted to say everything they said. So I had a fitness instructor that was like that for me. And I just talked to them and I said, how did you do this? And they told me about AFAA and said, get certified. You'd be good at it. You get rhythms, you get movements. And so at 17 years old, I took the AFAA certification, and back then it was way different than it is now. Got certified, and I have been teaching aerobics ever since. And then my idea behind fitness is just to say yes. So any opportunity that comes up, say yes. Do you want to get certified in kickboxing? Yes. Step, yes. Do you want to take this class? Yes. And then figure out how to do it later. So that's how I've been in the industry for so long.
Awesome. I love that, how it came from your experience wanting to, because I tell folks all the time that you sometimes do sports when you're younger, and then when you cross that threshold of 17, 18, it's like a chance to willingly do it, right? You have to kind of find your own niche as an adult. So awesome. Yeah. How about you, Andrew?
My story is very different. I think my only sports involvement, I got on a soccer team when I was in like first grade, and I was always on the wrong side of the field. I couldn't keep up. I thought I was going to impress everybody and find my position. I was going to be goalie, but I was so short. Like I don't think I blocked a single goal. And I spent most of my young adult life and teenage life as a gamer. I spent hours in front of the computer. I did tabletop gaming. I would just smash pizza and Mountain Dew all day long. And I finally, in my mid-20s, decided it was time to get in shape. And I had an opportunity to get a job as a membership consultant. So I was doing membership sales. And that was my way of getting a free gym membership. And at the time, I was changing my major. I was in school. I probably changed my major like 9 different times. I ended up settling on English literature. I was going to be a writer. And then I really ended up enjoying my job as a membership sales consultant. And I ended up helping people on the floor, really took to that. And I started to recognize I had a lot of problems that needed solving. And I wanted to help people. Then what I realized is that I wasn't able to help people in the way that I would like to. So I decided to become an NASM certified trainer, because the gym I worked for at the time, that's what they were looking for. And then I progressed it. And for me, what motivated me was problem solving. So it was, I saw a problem that needed solving, and then I did my research to figure out how was I going to solve this problem. And ultimately it just led from one certification to the next, and then eventually degrees, as the problems got more complicated over time, and I wanted to solve those problems as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's funny. I sometimes joke with my husband and say, if there was a problem, he would solve it, much like one of our favorite rap songs. So I can now say that about you, Andrew. I know you'll get a kick out of it. Can you two tell me why you chose AFAA and NASM? I know for me, at the time that I got certified before I became a master instructor, was because of the accreditation, the respect that the brands had in the field. Is it the same for you too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, Andrew.
All right. So for me, it was, if I was going to spend my money and get a credential, I wanted it to be fruitful. I wanted to get the most out of it. And NASM was pretty well understood at every gym that I would potentially work for as the gold standard. They started out at higher pay rates. They were more appreciated. They seemed to have a greater foundation of knowledge getting started. And it was like a no-brainer. I'm like, well, why would I, even if it cost me an extra $100 or there wasn't a sale at the time, it just made sense to invest in myself if that's really what I was passionate about and wanted to do.
Totally there with you. What about you, Amy?
Well, as I said, the instructor that was my mentor that I really liked, she was AFAA certified. But then as I looked into them too, because she's like, but there's other certifications and there's some that are cheaper and that are easier. As I looked into them, cheaper and easier isn't always the best thing. And back when I got certified the first time, we actually had a practical exam, and that's why I chose the one I chose, because I talked to a lot of instructors, and the instructors that were really the good instructors that could cue well and knew body alignment and knew how to actually teach and be on beat and do and be inclusive of the environment. They were instructors that were AFAA certified because of that practical exam, because of that, hey, you've got to actually, you can't just check off boxes and take a test. You have to actually know how to teach. And so I really respected that about AFAA.
Yeah, that's true. I remember that too. And it's funny because I used to be extremely shy before I got into the fitness industry, and the fitness industry made me not so shy, because you really don't have a choice other than just to, fail forward. And I tell that to instructors all the time. So for the two of you, I know that we talk a lot about, like, I will just go with the theme of the practical that Amy mentioned, but how do you two feel that those watching, so if anybody's watching has questions or comments for Amy or Andrew, please feel free to put them in the comment section on Facebook. We will be airing this on Instagram after the fact. But what do you two feel as far as practical looks like now in this virtual space, in the space that's a little bit more evolved and a little bit more different. How do you feel new instructors and trainers can help themselves become that, go from that student to that trainer / instructor, especially being virtual now?
I think one of the best things to do is, as you are doing it, find people, like 10 people that love you and will give you honest feedback and won't hate you in the long run, and offer to teach them free virtual classes or free face-to-face classes, depending on whatever your situation can have. Offer to teach them a series of 10 free classes and have them give you honest feedback and say, I didn't understand what you were trying to tell me to do in this situation, or whatever it is. And then that way, when you're giving them free classes and they're giving you feedback, then you're not so upset if they don't get a great workout because it was free. And you're not so upset if you fail because it was free and they love you anyway. And so I think that's one of the best recommendations that I have for new teachers coming in, is find some people and teach classes for free and then require feedback as payment.
Right. No, I love that, because I feel that some of the feedback I get in our groups and even just in this world that we're in, the focus after you get certified tends to be, let me go dive right into making money. But it's like, let me look at that practical application. What about you, Andrew? Especially when it comes to that question we get all the time about overhead squat assessment and how to assess a client. How would you suggest our viewers or newbies do that in this space?
Yeah, so I think the actual process isn't really altered at all. What changes is the format. You're still going to perform and cue the overhead squat assessment the same way. You're just going to do it over a screen instead of in person. So instead of me circling them like a shark as I, assess for these compensations, I'm going to be more traditional and, stand this way and then do 5 to 10 reps for me. Now go ahead and turn so you can do some more so I can get this view as well. And it's not really different. It just feels different because it's on a different format. And I think that most of this, especially as being a new trainer and growing, there's nothing wrong with telling your clients that, this entire process is about growth. You're growing, I'm growing, and I'm going to try some new things with you. And I would like feedback on those things as we go. And never skip the assessment process, because that's where growth begins for both the instructor and the client.
Right. That's one thing I have to say I don't love about 2020, but I love about being kind of challenged to be in this virtual space, is using tools on our computer, like to do the assessment, using those lines, the parallel lines, to look at our overhead squat assessment from different views. And also as an instructor, maybe freeze framing some video of yourself instead of just using, person-to-person feedback. Use our technology to our advantage and try to use the different tools that we have to even give yourself visual feedback on the computer. So thank you for your responses for that. And with that, I would love to see how candid we can be with sharing maybe one situation, if you can think of, for the both of you, that has been where you handled adversity in the field that you're in, from that wealth of experience you've had, those humble beginnings, that you could share with our audience of a time that you learned something and maybe failed forward, like I mentioned earlier.
You mean fail forward virtually, or just
at all in your whole
any
career?
failures? I have so many failure stories.
Pick your favorite failure and share it with everyone so they can know that we are also human.
Yeah. Well, I teach 6 a.m. aerobics classes a lot. And I have shown up to class many times with different shoes on, with my pants inside out, with my shirt inside out, all sorts of issues like that. So I'm good at just making a joke of myself. I've fallen in front of classes. I've done all sorts of things. And so the best thing is to just laugh it off. Hey, I'm human too. I'm not, just because I'm in front of the room and just because I have the tools of the fitness to give to you doesn't mean that I'm any better than any of you. So I think being able to laugh at yourself has been a really good way for me to fail forward. But I think, and then one thing with failing, that a lot of times one of my biggest lessons is you feel like you fail. Group fitness is completely different than personal training. So, but group fitness, if you're teaching a class and somebody walks out 20 minutes into the class, then all of a sudden it's in your head, oh my gosh, I'm a failure. They hated me. And I've gone back and talked to people about it. And sometimes it is because they hate my guts, and you can be the ripest, prettiest peach on the tree. And some people just don't like peaches. and that happened. But a lot of times, like people's lives, like their kid may have called, or they may have just remembered they had something, or they got a stomach ache. And so you can't always assume it's you and let that change your class.
Right. Especially in this space, going to your point of, virtual / in your career, I know I personally get Zoom fatigue. I get it a lot, and I'll just go off video just to take a breather and do 10 jumping jacks. And
do you have these now? Like I have to wear them.
I need to. I have them, but see, I don't wear them when I do lives because I realize if somebody wears glasses, it reflects my ring light.
Yeah.
But I do need my blue blockers for sure in this space with my aging eyes. What about you, Andrew? Do you want to share any kind of juicy?
Oh man, I've got so many. My entire career trajectory has been failing forward. Some of the, I think, that's where we learned the most, both about ourselves and about the process. And, I think it comes down to, with me and my clients, trust is, especially when I'm working with rehab clients and people with chronic pain. So trust is the foundation. And I think it's really important to be authentic. So admitting mistakes. I have shown up to appointments. Like right now, I make some house calls. I showed up a week early to an appointment. I'm like, I'm 5 minutes away. They're like, that appointment wasn't until next week. So everything from bookkeeping, I've had it to where I'm at my facility and somebody shows up and then 2 other people show up and I'm like, what are they doing here? And I'm trying to juggle 3 clients at once now because I screwed up my bookkeeping. Or there's times where I've had somebody on a fitness ball and they're about to fall off it. But in my head, I'm so busy saying, no, there's no way they're about to fall off it. They're just going to put their feet down. And then they don't. And then they ride the ball like 6 foot across the room and then tumble just all kinds of stuff. If you could imagine it happening, it's probably happened to me.
I'm not laughing at them. I find myself giggling even when my little one hurts herself. I'm like, oh, wait, are you okay? So I'm not laughing at those clients. Hopefully they're okay.
Luckily, nobody was seriously hurt, but it was a lesson for me to be aware of my surroundings. And even though it seems basic sense, like put your feet down if you're about to fall,
right?
They may not put their feet down and they will fall.
Right. That's a good point to bring up, something we can discuss as far as new instructors and new trainers. I think sometimes it's hard to go from being the student to the teacher, and then from the teacher to the educator, and explaining things that you're so used to doing second nature in a space where now somebody else who doesn't know how to do that has to learn. What do you 2 think are some tips for folks that are here, need to learn to get there, as far as going from like student to educator and explaining to their trainees?
I'll go. I think, it really comes down to awareness. And I think when it comes to being an educator, it's really about being adaptable to each individual, really honing in on being able to meet somebody where they're at, as opposed to this is just my way of doing it and that either works for you or it doesn't. I think that you can be successful as a trainer. This is my niche and this is what I do. But as an educator, if you can't get your message to the people who are seeking to understand that message, then you're not helping anybody. And it's always about, how can we impact the most people with the least amount of effort and the least amount of confusion. And so there's going to be some creativity. It's just like queuing a client. You start off with the most simple, and then the queues just get weirder and weirder until you find something that connects. Right. And I think you can pull from all areas of experience in your life, because as people, we have similar lifestyles, we have similar life experiences as a society, and we can lean on that as an educator to connect with people.
Right. Very true.
So I wouldn't discount any experience, because you never know when it's going to come in handy.
Oh yeah. Experience to me is the root of all knowledge. That's for sure. Even before I even went back to school. What about you, Amy, from being 17-year-old fresh-faced Amy to then transitioning to being now a content writer and a blog writer and a content creator? Like, how does somebody go from being like that student to then learning how to teach what they know to do secondhand?
Yeah, I think what you said, meet people where they're at. That's like a huge thing for this. And in group fitness, it's a bigger challenge because you will have a diverse level. You'll have people that are aspiring to be group fitness instructors and that are learning everything that you do and absorbing everything, to somebody that just walked in and has never been to a group fitness class in their life, and they're looking for a new home and a new life of fitness all in one place. And you have to be able to speak to all of them at the same time.
Right.
And so I I think, like experience, like it does become second nature, and it doesn't even occur. Like I've gone into that thing where I just assume people know what I mean when I say something, you know, and then you realize, you look out at the class and you're like, they're not doing what I said.
Yeah.
So being able to back up all the time and teach to the novice person and teach to the newbies, and a lot of times, like you like form and cueing form again and again and again. It's amazing. It's just like you're a mom. You don't hear your kids say your name, mom, 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 and then mine will be like Amy, Amy, because I don't. You just stop listening. And our people in our classes do that too. They stop listening to our cues. So the more ways we can say it, the more we can say it again and again to get them to hear it. That's going to help our new people, and then it's also going to help the people that have been going forever, and we assume that they know to keep their knees behind their toes in proper alignment, but they don't always do it.
Right.
So.
It's like a relationship, right? You have to start here and build from there for sure.
I would like to add too that, you know, as an educator, being an educator is just as much about learning. In fact, I've probably learned more as an educator than I did prior to taking on any kind of teaching. And before working with NASM, I was an educator for my own team members. You know, I taught trainers that I was hiring to work at my facility. And there would be instances where I would be saying, here, I want you to, you know, do this stretch technique or walk a client through this. And then I would start demonstrating it. And then as I'm demonstrating it, I'm like, well, that's not at all what I'm saying.
Right.
and you don't realize how, you know, what I do and what I say is not lining up. And you have to kind of back up and adapt, you know, adjust along the way and kind of fail forward even in education, not just as a trainer.
It's important for folks to see that, because I see a lot of times that I would think, oh, it's the client doing A, B, and C, or it's the mentee, now that I'm in the educational space, doing A, B, and C wrong. But no, maybe I'm explaining it differently. Maybe I need to change my narrative. Maybe I need to explain it in a way that fits that human better, versus me assuming that the way I do it is just going to align across the field, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
One thing we have when I teach, that one of the places that I teach for, one of the sayings we have is a ponytail in the water cue. And it just means it's a way that we say, how many different ways can you say, place your knees behind your heel? Because someone will hear that and it doesn't mean it. So how many ways can you say that? And it just comes from one of my mentors was water skiing, and she couldn't get up, and everyone's yelling all these cues to get her to get up water skiing. And finally somebody yelled, put your ponytail in the water. So she did, put her head back, ponytail in the water, and then she got up. And so it was that one cue from all of those guidances. And so we use that to help people in cueing, like how many ways can you say? And then everybody has a ponytail in the water cue for them for whatever, for a squat, that works for them, that makes sense.
So many different styles of learning and so many different styles of humans, which leads me to my next question. As far as, you know, I love learning from all of you. I love learning from a very diverse network of humans. I have a huge network of humans that I'm grateful for, and they're so different, and I love that. So what do you feel is important? Why do you feel it's important for instructors and trainers, whether new or vets, to diversify their network, to strengthen the relationships they have of those sitting shoulder to shoulder with them? Like, how important has it been for you in your journey to have different voices speaking into your journey?
Yeah, there's no possible way for one person to have all the answers. And whenever I'm working with a customer, I take a lot of pride in having most of the answers, but my perspective is limited to my scope and what I can do and my professional experience. And if this is truly about our clients and about our communities and the people we're trying to serve, limiting that perspective and limiting the diversity of help is really a disservice to them, and it doesn't benefit me either. And so as part of growing, the more I interact with my colleagues and my peers and work together to solve problems, the more I learn and the more diverse I become. But then the greater the impact on our customers and the people we serve to be better. They get where they need to go faster, more effectively, with less obstacles, and we're all growing together. And I think that's important.
That's true, because it matches that diverse population that we're looking to serve. To help everyone feel more inclusive, we have to have a diverse circle of influence. What about you, Amy?
I really feel like experience is the best teacher. And if you are only getting experiences with a certain type of body and a certain type of person, and then you're not learning and you're not getting the experiences that you need. And so the more you can diversify your experiences, whether it's teaching, whether it's collaborating, whether it's learning, the more you can diversify, the more you're going to learn, and a more well-rounded, holistic approach to education that you'll get.
Right, right. And I think that like I said that before, it goes to match our network of influence with our network of those that we hope to reach. It's really easy to get kind of stuck in like a niche of not only those who influence us, but a niche of those we aim to serve. So in order for us to serve more different humans in the space that we're in that need health and fitness, it's important for us to be influenced by those that are most different from us, which is what I always like to discuss here on the show. So for my last question, because I was just looking at the time and it flies so fast when we're having such fun conversation, where do you feel we are as far as like, why do you feel diversity and inclusion and also equity is important in this space and in fitness and health, and maybe a tip or a thing that you're doing yourself to help embrace that as we kind of sit back and reflect in 2020?
Yeah, I came from a small town in Missouri, and there's no diversity. And it wasn't until I moved to Florida, and it was more of a melting pot area, that I really understood what it meant to be diverse. And when we look at diversity, there's so many different experiences that people have, and there's so many obstacles that are unique to them that if you're not embracing these obstacles, you're limiting who you or if you're not embracing not just these obstacles, but the people who are facing these obstacles, you're limiting your ability to serve them and help them. And, the world's feels small at times, but it's a big place with a lot of different people and a lot of different experiences. And if we want to be effective educators and effective coaches, we have to embrace that. And my biggest tip is be careful to speak for somebody. I think there's a difference between, making sure that these people who have different experiences and different obstacles not just are pointed out, but allowed to speak for themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best way to learn from those experiences. And it's very easy when we have our own platforms to inadvertently speak for other people.
I love that. I have delved into research as I do DEI work myself, and this theory called standpoint theory that explains just that. There's only one way to learn about a specific group of humans, and that's to ask that specific group of humans to speak for themselves. So you read my mind. Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, and it's just like, with clients, I get on the Facebook group, we get a ton of questions of how do I handle this situation? And it's like, well, have you asked your client how they would like that situation to be handled? And it's the easiest and quickest way to get an answer, just being authentic, be candid, and say, hey, this is a problem and I don't know how to proceed. Do you have any ideas? Let's work on this together.
Right. Be transparent, authentic, and be a human that's able to grow versus the know-it-all, right? What about you, Amy?
I really feel I've had a lot of experiences recently, and the time I've been the most successful is when I completely humble myself. And I say, what I know, I don't know. You don't know what you don't know, but I know I don't know.
Right.
And so just being, if that makes sense, I'm sure it doesn't, but think about it. I know I don't know. Right. And so humbling myself, because we are master instructors and we are experts, but we're not at all on somebody else's body, on somebody else's situation. We are not experts. And so humble yourself and ask and have that open communication and come from a humble, loving place with the request for information.
Right. I always talk about amplifying voices, right? No matter what marginalized or intersectionalized or different groups that are out there, allowing those voices to speak for themselves and how important that is. So I appreciate your candid conversation with me. Our 30 minutes went by so fast. If you two happen to be on social media, do you want to share how people can find you or how they can get in touch with you if they have further questions?
Yeah, I'm amy.davis.fitness on Instagram, and I'm on YouTube or on Facebook and YouTube, but I don't really do those that much. So Instagram is probably the best way to find me.
Awesome.
The easiest way to find me is in our CPT Facebook group. And feel free to send me a direct message, friend request. I'm always happy to connect and answer questions.
Awesome. Well, I'm always grateful for these conversations. I'm all about authenticity and transparency, especially speaking to my amazing colleagues who I learned so much from. So thank you too for taking the time to chat with me today. And I know that a lot of folks watch these episodes after the fact, so please don't hesitate to type questions or comments into the video platforms that these are in. We appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us this Wednesday on We Speak, and we will see you next week for a new episode. Thank you.
Thanks.